get power crazed in this place. Well, here we are at the ballroom of the Dorchester. A glittering occasion, if you like. The 60th anniversary party. The BBC Bash. Actually, it's like this every Saturday night. This is how your licence fee is being spent. No, I tell a lie. Very shortly, everybody will set to, and there'll be forks and buns and fricassee of chicken flying in all directions, and I'll be joining in. That means I must be a member of the establishment. If you're an executive in the BBC, this tells you more about your standing than any annual report. I mean, if you're at table number 45, you're not doing all that well. You may be on the way up, but it's more likely you're actually on the way sideways. Interesting to gawp around the tables and see just who's below the salt. Jimmy Young's in none too strong a position, I see. Do you feel a kind of affection for the BBC?
I think most of the people working for the BBC have to have affection. There's precious little else.
There's no money in it.
There's no money in it.
But how can you feel affectionate to a monolith, a huge bureaucracy?
Oh, because that's a myth. Everybody outside thinks it's a monolith. It's made up of thousands and thousands of individuals, talented people that you work with. And I don't know what the monolith is, if there is one. I've never come across it. I've only come across brilliantly talented people. That's why I work with the BBC.
And that's why you'll continue to work with the BBC after those fine words. Well said, James Burke.
There's something rather nice about knowing everybody and all the people who work and the commissionaires and the receptionists. It's like an enormous family.
Putting aside all this tremendous glamour and everything, do you like working for the BBC?
Yes.
Well, they've been good to you over the years.
They've been lovely,
Frank.
Yes, they have. And it's really reciprocatory, it's reciprocatory. I've picked up toffee papers from the gravel in front of television centre, I've done my bit.
They're not bad, I mean, if they give people like you and me work, they can't be all bad, can they? No.
The standards can't be awfully high, though, can it?
It could do more for the viewers than any other broadcasting company in the world, and it nearly does everything it could do. Nearly.
Why doesn't it do it all?
Why doesn't it?
I don't think you can like it anyway. I think it's
too big to like, is it?
It's like patriotism. It's necessary. It's like belief. You must have it. You don't necessarily enjoy it, but you feel it must be there.
It's like sex, really.
No, I don't think it's like sex at all.
Yes.
I had 17 years of it, and it wasn't at all like sex.
I see. Sorry.
Well, this is it. BBC Broadcasting House, Portland Place. Or as it's known to its many admirers, the Fun Factory. There are 3 golden rules for survival here. Never sit with your back to the door. Never be the first to leave a BBC party. And if you see anybody in a kilt, kowtow a bit, because it could be the DG. In this cathedral of the radio, this temple to the arts and muses, the new Director General is a largely mysterious figure, carrying with him images of honey and Tigger and poo sticks on the 3rd floor. A pibroch playing Scotsman named A. Milne. So, here you'll find me in the very prow of Lord Reece's proud ship of broadcasting, standing 4 square abaft Regent Street. And above on the bridge, the DG, 3 floors up, hurling executives from the parapet to ease the block and promotion. Behind me, the statue that says, Deus incrementum dat. God will provide the yearly emolument. But if he fails, we can always rely on the listener and the viewer to come up with the licence fee.
Now, where, you cry, do we start in this bastion of broadcasting? Why not with the front-of-house manager, Phil Scott?
Phil, tell us the strange tale of the statue of Prospero and Ariel that looms over the door outside.
The day before it was unveiled, that Lord Reece had a look under the tarpaulins to see what it looked like, and he was rather surprised how well Ariel was endowed, and ordered that particular part of his anatomy to be reshaped.
So they knocked a bit off it, and all was well?
That's right.
This will be Mike Oldfield. Mirrors. No, it won't. It'll be Sally Oldfield and mirrors. We're going to be late for the news. Quick, take a decision. Somebody take a decision.
Jim will get very angry if you're late.
What? What should I do, producer? What'll I do now? Do I fade this, bring up the sync tune? Or would you like this to finish at 10
No,
seconds?
I would like this out at the end of this stanza.
This stanza, very well.
Such manual dexterity, such fluency. I suppose you think it's easy being a disc jockey.
I never touched you.
If it was, do you think Jimmy Young or me could do it?
Chap. That's about the height of it for this week. I hope you've enjoyed it. That's a forlorn hope. When you're sitting doing a daily radio program, inspiration is not all that easy to come by. So I have to make up things that go on outside, like all the diversions on the roof of the BBC, the swimming pool there, the herds of cattle as they slowly wend their way, cropping at the cud. Mind you, I've often had letters from people saying, just a cotton-picking minute, I've taken a room in a hotel not a million miles from the BBC, and I've seen the roof, and it's only about 50 yards of sloping tile. You see, some people do take things a bit literally. I mean, we've had the dance of the BBC Virgins for many years on the roof. Nobody ever turns up. I did happen to mention this a couple of times, and I was accosted in a dingy corridor of the BBC by a young woman, and she took a very serious view. She said, "Excuse me," she said, "there are virgins at the BBC, and I am one of them." "And so am I, madam," I said. "Let us dance together on the roof." But she wouldn't come. Some people are no fun. Well, this is the Führer bunker. In here, the chairman and DG and disc jockeys of the BBC will hide in the event of a nuclear attack. Great relief to all of you, I'm sure. It was designed, of course, for the last unpleasantness. In the event of the Nazi hordes pouring across the channel and beating at the door of the BBC, all our lads were going to head down here, into the bowels, in here, into walls 2 foot thick, and broadcast and damn the torpedoes. Ah, wonderful story it would have made. Luckily, it never happened. They designed everything. They designed their own sewage works, and what's that there? Aha! This is the air purification plant in the event of a poison gas attack. I bet you're glad the DG and me are safe.
Use gas wisely. If that were the case, there'd be no cricket commentators.
This is the Oval, Kennington Oval. Over there, the gasworks and the Surrey Tavern. And over there, the Vauxhall end. And a part of the ground they call Bowani Junction. Behind me, the click of willow upon leather. And upstairs in the Radio 3 commentary position, something that very much resembles Tom Brown's school days, a sort of cross between prep school and common room. Airy banter, in the tradition of the way the BBC once was.
And he's studying at the same college that I graduated through.
Really? What did you get, an MA?
No, I got a BCom.
What's a BCom?
A Bachelor of Commerce.
You become a BA, you become a...
BCom.
You become a B...
Very good.
This is no desultory conversation, as those of you who listen to Radio 3's ball-by-ball cricket commentary will know. This is broadcasting in the 80s.
What do you actually do now when you're not sort of dealing with in the cricket world?
I'm connected with a textile company. Rich and the sales director.
No, we'll find out what you make in a minute.
Keeps me out of trouble.
I might want one. Here comes Doshi now to Bill. His slow left arm, just about 3 paces. Bill's to Gar, and Gar pushes forward, and that goes down the pitch, and Sharma's going to come from short leg. What sort of garments do you make? Are they garments, or ties, or socks? Or?
No, we're in fabric actually. It's just basic fabric.
In basic fabric?
And
Doshi now coming up.
Brian Johnston is the great practical joke. He loves to play this trick with the young commentators especially. They come in.
Give us an example of kind of practical joke that old John
Well, I mean, what he loves to do is you come in a bit of a hurry one afternoon, worried that you're late, you know, and you will see him talking to the microphone, and he says, well, so much for the English averages. Well, now, of course, the West Indies have had some very big scores on this tour, and I see Christopher Martin-Jenkins just walked into the box. Christopher, would you bring us up to date with the entire West Indian averages, please? And you sort of, you know, quickly look for some papers and see him giggling, and you realise you're not on the air at all, because it's still the lunch interval.
Oh. Well, now, this is an occurrence which often happens in the box, Farrow. You mustn't be too amazed by it. Well, there's a mystery box being placed in front of me as Doshi comes up and bowls, and Gar off the back foot flicks this off his toes, and he goes down for 1 run to Ben Saka, and that's 36 now to Gar, and the score is 158 for 2. Oh. And I raise this up, and the most appalling sight. It was, I think, a cake, and it's all been mashed up, and there's now strawberries and cream on a chocolate base. Yes. But that's very good indeed. I shall get my nose into that in the trough later. But and we welcome well service with the news that we've just been placed a chocolate cake in front of them, which has been mashed up into sort of strawberries and cream. Well, thank you very much, somebody, for that. And well service, the news is that England are batting.
But some people have said to you that perhaps you put too much emphasis on the cake coming in and
But it's
jackdaw hovering above the stand or all this.
It's all part of cricket. And if cake comes in, you must say thank you very much to people. And if you do put a slice in someone's mouth and ask them a question immediately afterwards, well, that's a bit of fun. The crumbs go all over the box, but it's, you know.
It's surprising to me that you let people like Freddie in. Do you like the atmosphere at the Radio 3 commentary position? I mean, it's a bit sort of pansified for the likes of you.
Well, yeah, I think, Terry, that's a good word, yes, for the likes of me. You know, with all this, surrounded by all these public schools. There's a couple of grammar school boys as well, in Don Mosey and Tony Lewis. But we do seem to have a large influx of public school. Yes, I think you're right. There's a bit of pansies about it. Yes.
There's nothing pansy about public schools, Fred.
Oh, sorry, I was talking to Terry, not you.
I beg your pardon.
Wasn't I?
Yes, of course you were. But do you find the atmosphere slightly old-fashioned in the BBC commentary position?
Well, yes, I suppose you could say that with the elder statesmen that are in there. As you see, like John is here, of course, there's nothing like learning from experience and gaining experience, and of course he's got so much of it. I mean, look at the way the
much of it.
I mean, look at the way the man dresses.
Are those your broadcasting shoes?
Those are my broadcasting shoes for every Test match since 1961. They're all brown and white.
Didn't you, in fact, cover a non-event?
Well, years ago, when I did these things in town tonight, I was going to do something in the boat race, and it was cancelled because of fog. And so I had to cancel the OB, and we didn't know what to do. I had to fill 4 minutes. And I said, I tell you what, and I got into the bath, and I had a little toy boat, and I said, in, out, in, out. And I said, I bet you can't guess where I am. And everybody obviously thought the River Thames. I said, I'm in my bath with a little boat. And that covered 4 minutes somehow. Luckily, the water covered me.
The listener may not have spotted that particular licentious piece of behaviour, but if he had, he might well have written in and complained. And indeed, some 3 million letters are pushed through the BBC letterbox each year.
There is a department in the BBC that just looks after the correspondence, the thousands of letters that come in every day. The good people there sort out these letters for the likes of me into birthdays, anniversaries, abusive, complimentary, personal, and gifts of money. I very rarely see the gifts of money one, but the ladies who run this correspondence department are the kind of ladies that were the backbone of the empire and are now the backbone of the BBC.
Programme Correspondence Section, or as it is known to us, PCS, has gathered this afternoon to say goodbye to you, Winifred, as today you retire from the Programme Inquiry Unit of PCS after long and devoted service. You leave behind, here in this office, a vast store of information which I know that we shall all continue to benefit from. We shall miss you very much, but we wish you a long and happy retirement. Could I ask everyone to raise their glasses, and the toast is Winifred.
And I think I'd like to raise my glass and say, here's to the future of PCS and all of you.
Yes, yes. The programme correspondence section exists to ensure that all letters received by the BBC are very carefully looked at. Great care is taken of correspondence received. All letters are very carefully analysed, and regular reports are studied at the highest levels in the BBC. People send us some very interesting things with their correspondence, and in actual fact, if we get polythene bags or matchboxes attached to letters, we're really very suspicious and we take a step backwards, particularly if we've had a wildlife programme or one of our many nature programmes. We really wonder what's coming in either the matchbox or the polythene bag. And we had a letter the other day from somebody who'd got a really rather unique collection of toenails. One no longer apparently collects autographs or even locks of hair, but somebody has a collection of toenails and wrote to the BBC saying that could we please add to his collection by asking his favourite presenters to send them their toenail clippings. But I'm afraid we decided we couldn't oblige.
I've always been asked which I prefer, radio or the television. I think I probably prefer the radio, because with radio, the world is your oyster. I mean, on this very microphone, I have had the sinking of the Graf's Bay, the history of the world, part 2. I've juggled, I've contorted, I've done kung fu, I've put on records with my legs in the air, I've balanced on one finger while putting on records and at the same time speaking to the great British population. You can do anything on the radio.
How's your stomach, Ray? Have you had any soup or coffee? Is it going to be quiet when we start to talk?
I've had a drink, but I'm afraid we shall inevitably get the shrieks for more, you know, but occasional hazard, I suppose. Tummy rumbling, isn't it, this time of the morning?
There are too many people who'd stay up all night in order to catch the sound of the dawn chorus, which I found out the hard way is at 3 o'clock in the morning.
OK, chap. Get ourselves assembled.
These pioneers from radio's nature trail, led by Ray Goodwin and producer John Harrison, regularly miss a night's sleep for the early call of the indigenous bird song.
OK, Ray, if you'd like to pick up the wood pigeon and start your programme from there, OK? When you like.
The Gloucestershire day, I think, has started now because the wood pigeon over there going quite nicely. We can get on to it. You getting that through, OK?
Yeah, it sounds all right to me. Are you happy, Pete? Yeah, OK. Just hold it on that for a bit, Ray.
Right. Bit of wind noise beginning to creep in those trees, you know, too. Did I hear a distant blackcap, too? Just a little twitter.
Ray, how about giving us a descriptive thing about the valley, because, of course, the audience can't see this. So.
Well, I think this valley is very typical of quite a lot of these Cotswold valleys, fairly steep-sided, grassy banks on some of the sides, and this one is very nice because there's a good spread of deciduous woodland here, which is nice to see in this day and age. Not too many conifers. A lovely vivid patch of what's the blooming thing? The red stuff.
Rose Bay willow.
That's right, Rose Bay willow.
Go back to the beginning of that sentence.
Yeah. A lovely vivid patch of Rose Bay willow herb just coming into view now the light's getting better. Looks quite striking. And the lake off through the trees to the left there.
We had a large number of letters came from lots of people who perhaps remember coming out into the countryside when they were younger, and older people who can't do it nowadays. And I think that with the sort of programme that we're recording now, it does it reminds people of days gone by when they used to be able to get out, and probably their senses were somewhat heightened in those days. They probably remember the better things. They forget the cold and the rain. But we're able to take them back to that, and Ray, with his words and the sounds around us, can paint a super picture of what is happening here.
What lengths do you go to?
Well, we recorded a programme just last week. We started in a thunderstorm, and the opening words of my presenter for that were that he thought that our eccentricity ran to the point of lunacy on course of duty, which I think sums it up at times. But it's nice. I mean, you get wet, but it doesn't matter, does it?
No, what about, I mean, when we did the Gloucestershire night, John, I mean, you wouldn't have got a colder night, but the minute that fox started to howl, I bet you weren't aware of the cold. No. Certainly I wasn't. You know, it's all gone. The minute anything starts, your mind is focusing on what's going on and, you know, getting the recording, and then, well, you know, it's just magic for me. It really is.
And that programme, we were out in the January air for 12 hours.
That's right.
Finishing at 3 o'clock in the morning. And by Jove, it was cold, wasn't it?
It was one of the hardest frosts of that winter.
Yeah.
A beautiful moonlight night.
But it was worth it, wasn't
it? It was worth every moment. I wouldn't have missed one single moment of that.
But isn't this all a little odd?
Of course it's odd, yes. But there's no harm in being a bit eccentric, is there?
And as the sun rises gently in the east, this marvellous body of men continue to look for sounds, painting pictures with words, broadcasting in a time warp.
Recently, at the 60th anniversary celebrations of the BBC in St. Paul's, sitting behind me, the pew behind, was an old ex-employee of the BBC. And I could hear him say behind me, "You know, everywhere I look, I seem to see ghosts." And then he thought for a moment, and he said, "I suppose everybody who sees me thinks they've seen a ghost." But actually, these corridors, the studios of the BBC, they must be full of ghosts. Ghosts in the air. Ghosts of the ether.
Standing in the marsh, the British Empire.
Although we had a really good vacation,
would last for 1,000 years. Standing in the marsh. Men will still say, "This was our finest hour."
And to discharge my duties as king, as
I'm the fire rate's mate. I mean the
without the help and support of the woman I love.
I'm speaking to you from a genuine BBC bedroom. Yes, the BBC have bedrooms. Not for the likes of me, of course, a mere hobbledehoy and freelance performer, but for members of the staff. And I'm here at the invitation of a member of a staff whose bedroom this is. James Alexander Gordon, announcer to the gentry on Radio 2. Jim, how kind of you to ask me into your room.
It's a pleasure, Terry. I mean, I don't think you've ever been in one before, have you?
I haven't. Is this your own bedroom? I mean, is your
Once
name
a
on
week,
the
this
door?
is my bedroom. No, my name's not on the door. This is room 333.
Now, Jim, something rather sinister occurred in this very room. Can you tell me what actually happened? You were asleep, weren't you?
I woke up and I saw a ball of light, which I thought was the moonlight coming in through the curtains, just above the sink there. Slumber.
You hadn't had anything to drink?
Oh, no, because that's...
But your first night on the radio?
That's right.
Yeah.
My golden rule as well, I never drink on duty.
Yeah, yeah.
And it started to get larger. Then it became probably about 4 foot high and started to take the shape of a human form and very fluorescent. And he had a cape on, a long cape. It's probably something like these Victorian evening wear, the one you used to see in the films particularly. And a cravat. And what I always remember most clearly was the pin in the cravat.
And what about his features? Did he have features?
Yes, very sallow features. And as he turned round, his hands came out like this, thus, and proceeded to float towards the bed.
Float towards you?
Towards me.
Slowly?
Yes, very, very slowly, just gliding. And as he came forward, his hands came out, and I looked up, and the eyes were sunken, but very, very staring, and glowing as well. And at that point, foolishly perhaps, I said, "Who are you? What do you want?" And then grabbed my boot, which was here, and I said, "Go to hell." You see, and I flung the boot, which rattled off the sink, into the sink.
Went straight through the
I then grabbed my underpants, dashed out the door, down to reception, and said to the commissioner, "I've just had a dreadful experience in room 333. And he said, "There is no way I'm going up there."
The commissioner knew about this room. He knew
yes.
that 333 had a ghost, a resident ghost.
Evidently, of course, other announcers and other members of the BBC staff, in actual fact, have witnessed this being, shall we call it, or whatever one likes to call it, a ghost or whatever.
So there's no possibility it was a dream or that you imagined it?
Not at all. No possibility at all.
You've ever seen ghosts before?
Never in my life. I've never even experienced any...
And yet you're willing to come back in this room and sleep again?
Well...
I mean, has he appeared again for you?
Not yet. I wish he would, really, because I'd probably ask him some other questions.
Well, Jim, I hate to leave you here on your own.
Oh, thanks,
but
Terry.
quite frankly, I'm not staying
I can't
here.
offer you a nightcap.
Not likely. No, I'm getting out of here as quickly as I can. I'm scared out of my wits. See you later, Jim.
Bye. Bye.
BBC Television Centre, set in Verdant Wood Lane. The Television Centre, or as we call it, the Magic Donut. Or the concrete donut, if you like, built in a circle so that the rumours can circulate that much faster. In the centre, Ariel, proudly on high. There used to be water in Ariel's fountain, but it was found that the many executives, looking out the windows at this water sprouting from the fountain, felt the call of nature so often that they had to leave their office at least a dozen times a day. So the water was switched off. And rightly so.
Behind the facade here, Magic Donut, it's not all beer, women and skittles, I can tell you. There is the occasional spot of work done.
There's a nice one moving, this.
Yes, obviously a mammoth new production. Steady with that gold Nefertiti, you fool. I spoke to the producer, Guy Slater.
The world, I think, generally thinks of Cleopatra as being Elizabeth Taylor, having a tortuous relationship with an asp. We're using 7 Cleopatras. Actually, there's rather more than that. They're called Cleopatra, Tryphena, and Berenike, and there are various offshoots of the Cleopatra dynasty. But basically what it is, it's a story about a lot of repulsive women. I mean, really, really violent and repulsive women, led by Cleopatra II. And they were all uniformly ruthless, down to the last of them, the famous one who finally lost the empire to Rome. By falling in love with Antony and misbehaving, generally speaking. But the others were all, they had one particular concept, which was power. And that's what the serial is in fact about. It's power of an empire, finally dominated by the Roman Empire. The Egyptians were all hairless. So the theory is that if you see any bald-headed actor in London, he belongs to us. They had to shave their body hair, and in many, many cases, go bald as well. So we've had to ask a lot of actors to shave their heads off, and indeed one wondrously brave actress to shave her hair off. And the part of this is to kind of create the very strange culture, which we're trying to make it as un-Western as possible, and that's reflected in the design, in the way in which people dress, and in the way in which it is written as well. That's not to say it's heavy, it's actually black comedy.
Yes. Good grief. And from the look of it, family entertainment as well. Oh, it's a fine figure of a man. You know, it's never like this on the radio.
So these were all wigs, weren't they?
And Jimmy Young looks nothing like that.
Otherwise, they'd just send you back.
Lord Reece must be doing handsprings in his grave.
So you had this one fixed, huh? Yeah, that's...
Ah, that's better. A slice of middle-class life in early Egypt. Oh, and don't forget the talcum powder. That's better.
When I came to set the project up, and I approached a director called John Franco, who's one who's doing such a marvellous job putting this bunch of rogues together, he asked specifically, well, right, do we get to Egypt? And I said, no, sorry. He said, oh, God, have I got to create Egypt in Shepherd's Bush? And that's what he's done.
Why do I never get to appear in anything classy like this?
Keep going on 14.
Ah, the wonder of it all. The romance and deception, the colour and the glamour. This is your BBC. But do make sure you show your pass.
Thank heaven for an oasis. Here, neath the broiling sun of the Sahara, you find me in the BBC sandpit. Yes, friends, this is where it all happens. Blake 7, all 5 of them fought the Federation tooth and nail here. Here, too, Doctor Who has landed in his police box on more than one occasion. And over there, the Japanese provoked brave British women beyond endurance. I wonder if the natives are restless. Those nasty tribesmen that are indigenous to the Bournemouth area.
Courage, mon brave. Here in the dunes of Dorset, the BBC are recreating, but you've guessed it, Beau Geste.
Maybe the Arabs took the fort. Maybe they're in there waiting for us.
Fine. DFI, we have to do the whole thing again because we have a sky problem from John. So, could you send up the 6 shots, please,
On your attitude to possible danger.
Say again?
What sort of sky do you want, John?
Not quite so.
What sort of
The impossible is difficult. Miracles take a little longer.
But I can't do that.
Up on the hill is the nerve centre of it all.
Can you check with the armourer that Bunny's rifle sling should be as loose as that? It looks a bit daft to me.
Yes, we can tighten that up.
Not Bunny, it's Barry's. Buddy, I meant.
I spoke to the production associate, Chris Doyley-John.
One of the problems we've had with the show is that at the unit hotel we've had about 30 or 40 men and there are no women around at all, and this has led to a certain amount of what is known as, in the script as le cafard, or the hump as it's generally translated. You can imagine that it's not very easy to organise social events with sort of 40 men around and, as I say, only about 3 makeup girls to go round.
Zut alors, life in the Légion. This is typically inclement North African weather. Men running away from their past. And the rain, which has put production behind schedule. And that accounts for the battle-hardened face of the director.
Now that's getting a little bit brighter. And I think probably it'll come over and we'll wait.
Red, come and have a consultation.
Have you talked to your farmer about the weather this morning?
He was right, wasn't he?
What
yes,
did he
was.
say?
Now, what does he say about the rest of it? It's going to be like yesterday, pick up after lunch. It's getting lighter on anyway.
Of course, mes braves. Life in the Legion was never meant to be easy. Particularly in these kind of conditions, when you've got to brush the rain off the parapets of the fort. And dig the lush Dorset grass from the side of North African sandhills, all in the interests of reality.
That first run,
Yeah,
I think they got that burrito.
How many did we kill?
Ah, bonjour, mes légionnaires.
Bonjour, bonjour, bonjour.
Tu vas bien?
Yeah. How you doing, Pally?
All quiet there on the old desert, is it? How are the
well, it is
Tuaregs
now.
and the Bedouin?
Oh, we've done them. They're all finished.
Yeah. You've done them, have you?
Finished. Done a lot.
Yeah, but you all got wiped out as well, didn't you? Did you take you long to die? Did you die almost immediately?
I went down like a ton of bricks.
Did you? Did you curse in French as you went?
Well, I didn't have time, really. The corporal cradles my head. It was a very soft moment.
Sounds lovely, doesn't it?
You like that?
Sounds pretty moving. Are you finding it tough beneath the burning Saharan sun here?
When the rain stops, it's really...
Yeah.
really hot.
And I suppose life in the Legion isn't a piece of cake, is it?
No, it's hard graft.
When those Arabs were coming across that ridge up
I can
there,
imagine.
Were you frightened?
Yeah.
What were they shouting in Arabic?
Obscenities.
Yeah.
Weird. It was very
Give
weird.
us an Arab obscenity they were shouting.
Infidel?
Infidel, yeah, bundles of them. There was
Infidel.
bundles of infidels.
Yeah. A strange
Cockney
sort of
cowards.
sensation for me. that.
Cockney cowards.
Cockney cowards?
Yeah, I heard that. I heard that.
Oh, that's it. It's terrific,
That's
isn't
good.
it?
That's a well. Smart.
That was Johnny W. Do you
What
want
about the hair? What about the hair?
That's
You
all
have to
right.
have that cut.
Get your hair cut.
Oh, that's better.
Or have his ears dropped. See how his eyes now. Have your ears dropped.
Let me pick off a few arrows.
Go on, then.
Okay. I think I just shot Beaugest.
That's the director.
Douglas Campfield, director of Beaugest. The emphasis is on realism here. I mean, you live this, don't you, really?
Morning, noon and night, and according to my wife, I dream it as well.
Oh, dear.
Yes, I shout out orders in French during the night. It's a
Because
very
I've
good
got
phrase,
two
can
French flintlocks here, which would pick off a Tuareg at about
200 yards?
200 meters, yes. I shall make my way out into the desert and face the ravening hordes of Tuaregs.
And don't fall over the sand dunes.
Do my best, and I hope I don't bump into Doctor Who either.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye, Douglas. Thank you. Unluckily for you, they didn't quite finish me off. Just a minor flesh wound, which I shall carry bravely to the grave. Looks like an aircraft hangar, doesn't it? But it isn't. It's a coat hanger. Perhaps the world's biggest coat hanger. This is the BBC's costume department. Wonderful stuff here. Medieval frocks of all descriptions, wimples, doublet and hose, halberds. Anything the drama director's heart requires is here. Tudor, look at that, chainmail. That's more like what my ancestors used to wear. Any frock that's required can be found in this very place, just hanging here. You don't think they're dressing the DG as well, do you? What was the most exacting program that you had to dress lately, for instance?
Well, I think perhaps Michael could say something about that.
It's the Borgias.
The Borgias, yes, indeed.
Why was
I'm still in correspondence with nuns in Shropshire about it, so I'll say no more.
The incorrect use of the wimple?
No. They like the wimple. It was the incorrect use of many other aspects.
That's true. There was a lot of romping, wasn't there?
I mean, these nuns, seem to think that the Catholic faith was being taken into areas where it shouldn't have been taken, and, I only did what I had to do.
So they blamed the dresses for that, did they?
Well, yes, it's partly of it. Black leather is not really the sort of thing that should be seen in the Vatican.
Roger, you get some nice location work, don't you? I expect you take it all, you being the boss. You
That's
take
right.
the locations.
Oh,
yes.
sure.
Michael
I think
was telling me how he resented it earlier on. Yeah. Did you have any trouble on location?
Well, I think one of the silliest things that happened to me was when I was on location in Tobago and we were filming Robinson Crusoe. And one part of the story, if you recall it, is that the natives are meant to be naked. The natives are the cannibals on the island. And so I designed these very tiny G-string things, which were dark brown, for the natives to wear. There I was in a room with my dresser, and there were 20 black Tobagans all looking at me, waiting for me to tell them about their costume. And I chickened out, rather, because I didn't know how I was going to describe to them how to put these G-strings on. And the dresser who was with me was brilliant, really. He stepped forward and produced a G-string and tied it on himself, rather like the air hostesses demonstrate the Mae West on the aeroplane. And having done this, he then supervised them one at a time into the bathroom so that they could put their own G-string on and then be checked, and that was that.
Come on now, own up. You've always wanted to do this, haven't you? Think of the power. You, a seer, able to look forward into the future and predict what tomorrow's weather may hold, however unsuccessfully. Think of being able to wear Michael Fisher's sports coats. Or have your hair done like Jim Bacon so that people confuse you with Jimmy Connors in the street. On the other hand, you'll have to take the rough with the smooth because people do tend to blame Michael Fish whenever there's a thunderstorm. Jim Bacon gets appalling stick whenever it rains on Glasgow. But the man I mainly blame is Jack Scott, a avuncular, trustworthy, grey-haired, rather like an airline pilot. You feel you could put your trust in this man, but frankly, you can't. He's always right. Oh, crikey. Jack, I'm sorry, but...
That was a lovely introduction.
Anything extraordinary ever happen when you forecast some kind of good weather and the whole thing falls apart?
No, it's sometimes a bit difficult to draw the curtains in the morning when you forecast rain and you can see the sun coming through the curtains and that sort of thing. But that rarely happens. It's not true that we get the forecast wrong all that many times. All the funny things happen in this studio, and that makes it worth coming for.
Like
You
for
know,
instance?
incidentally, that we're the only people left who aren't reading it. You've seen them out there, haven't you, reading away at this teleprompter thing that everybody has. The weatherman is the only guy left on television, just about.
He's
who isn't
ad-libbing.
reading it. He's ad-libbing.
You and me both,
Making
Jack.
it up as he goes along.
We'll never make it on Nationwide.
Yeah. And so we have this wonderful idea, technology this, where we start at the far end not knowing just how long we're going to have in front of that Atlantic chart. A clock there beside the camera, and we walk along here, and when we get to the next camera, do you know, this is technology, we have a clock standing beside this camera and a girl standing with a finger at the point at which we've got to stop talking so that the trailer can come up or Nationwide can start.
So
and we simply have to stop there.
Must be horrendous when you've got 15 seconds more to say about cyclonic conditions over the southeast coast.
Not quite like that.
But you've got all that time in your head to say, and she's pointing the finger at the clock and you've only got 3 seconds left. What do you do?
Well, there was an occasion when one of these girls moved a finger as I was into those last 3 seconds and gave me another 10.
That's even worse, isn't it?
Well, I told 3 more lies. But never mind. There was another occasion when I stopped at the end, right on time, winked at the girl, and found I was still on air.
Now, Jack, there are a lot of people in this august organisation, people who work here, members of the staff, even hobbledehoys like me, who've never actually seen this much-feared figure, this eminence grise, the DG. Now, you're a civil servant. Have you ever seen him?
I've never seen him. I've heard of him. In fact, I was on holiday in Scotland once, and a chap there at a ceilidh, would you believe, in Granton-on-Spey, asked me if I knew Alistair Milne. No, I said, I haven't met him, and anyway, I think I'd have to call him Mr. Milne, you know. And he said, he may be Mr. Milne to you, but I make his kilts, and he's always been wee Alistair to me.
Jack, I'm going to have a bash here, if I may.
Please do.
You know, and I shall probably ad-lib in your own informal manner here. How many seconds have I got?
You've got 45,
45.
starting from now.
As little as that, eh? It won't be enough. Well, Jack, what we have here are winds going straight up like that, 10, force 10. Then for that again, there's another terrific wind coming off there, going right past my left hip pocket. On the other hand, these are all-purpose weather things. Why don't you make more use of these, Jack? Look at that. That, for instance, is a thunderstorm with a little rain and just a sprinkling of snow.
It's nothing like it. That is snow and rain, which together make sleet. That's
You're only confusing the
elementary.
people further. On the other hand, you might well have something like that, Jack, which is sunshine, rain, snow, or sleet, if you like.
Every horse in the race.
Yeah, you're covered there. Absolutely covered. You could have a flash of lightning over Scotland that might do them a power of
That's
good.
the best place to put it.
Oh, and look, Jack, there's an artistic one. Look, there's little bits of tinsel around these. Does this mean it's Christmas over North Wales?
That's right. We had those specially made for Christmas. And we put a fair number of them on the chart around about Christmas time, too.
Yeah, even though it wasn't going to snow.
That's right, just for the occasion.
Jack, you're an old romantic.
We're like that.
Another glamorous location. A stroll to the BBC's Botanical Garden. Ah, yeah. God! Did you ever feel it wasn't your day? I told the DG not to use that outside loo. I feel as if I've stumbled onto a meeting of the BBC Board of Governors. You don't think somebody in the BBC doesn't like me, do you? Hang on. Somebody over there may be able to give help, aid, succor. An exploding wall?
Wasn't too painful, was it?
And who are you?
Visual effects. Head of visual effects.
You know, I
Welcome to us.
Sneaking suspicion you might be.
True.
You do not just explosions, you do effects for Doctor Who
Doctor Who, all the model shots, all the science fiction stuff that you see. We also
the
do
shaky spaceships in Break 7.
Oh, not shaky spaceships. Never from us. No, always
Steady.
super spaceships.
Steady, yeah.
Absolutely.
You're not doing that plane flying overhead
No,
at the
I'm
moment,
sorry
then?
about the plane. I can't do anything about that.
You can't blow it out of the sky by any chance.
No, but if you'd like, I'll show you what it's all about. If you care to take hold of that. Press the bar down in a moment when I'm clear, and you shall see.
When you're clear?
When I'm clear. Yeah. Not yet.
Why are you running away like that?
Not yet.
Not yet. What? No?
Now.
God. Some explosion, eh, fellas? Lucky to get away with that. Hello, Les. How you doing, me old friend? Good to see you here. Rhubarb for dinner this evening, fellas? Very nice. Ah, the BBC visual effects. Nation shall speak unto nation. What have we here? Ah, a refugee from David Attenborough, As I Live and Breathe. Poor little creature. And yet, the image of David. Great heavens! Alas! Poor Yorick. I knew him well. I knew him when he was head of Light Entertainment. And look here. That's more like it. That'll ease the block in promotion.
I think it's, you know, I could just sort of cut myself really seriously badly here.
God.
Look, just hope that... It's not very nice, really, is it?
That's the understatement of the year. So that's how they do it. That's when you see them going like that. Yeah.
Several ways.
Yeah, you can ruin a lot of shirts like that. Excuse me, so that seemed unnecessarily destructive.
Well, we have to demonstrate how to break a pane of glass safely. And
How can you break a pane of glass safely without getting splinters?
By using PS2, which is a resin that we have cast in replacement of
so you can
glass.
go crashing through it.
That's
and
right,
everything.
yes. Yes.
This is a likely looking. Is this a... Don't tell me this is a fake. It is, you
Yes,
know.
it is. It's a wax one.
Yes, I've just broken it.
We have a lot of breakables,
What's that?
which is safe. This is a breakable bottle. So
Really?
you can, in a bar scene, you can break somebody over the head with it safely.
Go on. That hurt like hell. What's that thing over there?
Oh, that's one of our larger models from a comedy program. It's a syringe.
Good grief. I suppose this is the kind of thing where they stick it in Les Dawson's bottom and say, this will hardly hurt at all, sir.
Exactly, exactly.
Yes. Extraordinary thing, isn't it?
Greetings, Master Wogan.
And what's your name, little dog?
They call me K9.
Have you done this all over the floor?
Negative.
Don't light up like that at me. Go on, take me to your doctor.
Medication unnecessary, Master Wogan. Permit me to take you to your new leader.
Stupid little dog. Meanwhile, back at the fun factory, an air of eager anticipation. For he who must be obeyed has turned up for work at last. And with the skull of the pipes and the whiff of old expensive Scots malt.
Morning.
Which way did the DG go?
He went over there.
I'll confront the rascal on your behalf. Put the facts in front of him and see what he says.
God, he's on the roof.
Yes, probably lurking up there, playing poo sticks. I've got him now. Eh? Gone. Gone. And never called me mother.
give old Auntie Beeb her ball back.